I would like to share with you my thesis that I did when I received my Master of Fine Arts in Printmaking from Kendall College of Art and Design in 2009. I started off this program doing all of my art not Christian based, not on my faith at all. You probably wouldn't have even known that I was a Christian. But 1 year into my program, my advisor started to illegally harass me for my faith. I was forced through lawyers and the president of the university to switch majors from photography to printmaking. So I actually received my Master of Fine Arts in Printmaking instead of photography. But in order to still use my photography, which is my passion, I used photography techniques in my printmaking thesis. I'm going to show it to you here in a second. Once I realized that I was going to be harassed for my faith, even though I wasn't making artwork based on my faith, I decided, hey, let's go for it. Let's make all of my artwork based on my faith, because that is my passion. So this thesis is all based on the book Song of Solomon found in the Bible. Here's an example of one of the 20 life-size prints that I made for my installation. I've diagrammed 6 important aspects of the prints. 1. Each woman who volunteered to be a part of this installation represents the Shulamite maiden found in Song of Solomon. Her stance is mirrored from Botticelli's The Birth of Venus, where Venus is the goddess associated with love, beauty, and fertility. 2. The placement of an entrance to a garden of the woman's choosing portrays the entrance to the woman's soul and personality. She is fragile, just as the garden is fragile, and she uses discernment in who she allows into her life. 3. The pocket watch represents the cyclical nature of life. The placement refers to the limited time in which a woman can bear children. 4. This Celtic square knot represents the unconditional love a mother has for a child. The square border represents the stable foundation produced by a mother's love. The 2 interweaving strands represent the protection that comes from a mother and child's inseparable love for one another. I bring this portrayal of love's union to show that a woman cannot separate herself from the bond of her past. 5. The photograph of each woman as a child refers to the child inside all of us. Every woman needs to take care of the childlike and adventurous side of her personality. A woman also needs to take into account that her childhood affects her future garden and soul, and also the way she will raise children, if she chooses to have children of her own. 6. A visual foundation uniting the women with the installation's message inspired by Song of Solomon. My thesis show Becoming, Beauty and Identity in the 21st Century showed from February 16th through March 1st, 2010. During this time, the gallery held 2 artists, Katie Johnson and myself. My work was on the left side of the gallery. As you entered, there were 4 life-size screen prints preparing you for the installation you are about to enter. Next to these women was a banner I also screen printed, holding all of the names of the women who chose to represent a contemporary Shulamite maiden. Representing my 15-page thesis was difficult, but I was able to summarize it into 4 paragraphs that the viewer could easily understand. As you turned the corner, you saw a hand-carved, dovetailed bench that Bruce Davis helped me make myself. The bench welcomed the viewer to come and sit down in quiet and peace, while they contemplated the garden-like installation I made with the screen prints, the mirrors, the incense, the water fountain, and also the bench. I'm going to read a small excerpt from the 1-page thesis summary I had on display in the gallery for the viewers to read. The Shulamite maiden in Song of Solomon recognizes that she is both an emotional and sexual being who is responsible in caring for the beauty of her life. She understands that her emotions have the ability to reach unfathomable depths and that it is wise to use discernment when allowing people into her emotional and sexual life. She gives up a life of luxury with a king to live a common life with a committed shepherd boy who will guard and cherish her soul and sexuality. I stand with my fellow sisters, claiming that as humans we should cherish our sensitivity and defy exploitation. Through accepting our vulnerability, we give womanhood more value. By guarding the depth of an emotional connection we can have in relationships, non-sexual and sexual, we heighten the value and worth of the pleasure we will eventually give and receive. Though Song of Solomon portrays a Shulamite from over 3,000 years ago, the women in this installation and I stand as contemporary Shulamites who live in today's American society. We are visual role models who strongly believe in emotional commitment, sexual commitment, and that we are highly valued, intricate creations of a God of love. It was really important to me that my models believed in my work's message. Therefore, I chose my models out of the gathering of young adults where the sermon that inspired this installation was given. The pastor quoted Song of Solomon 4:12. "You are a garden locked up, my sister, my bride." Again, the message found in Song of Solomon is the idea that as sexual beings, we are programmed for deep companionship. And not only that, but the idea that this deep companionship takes so much of our souls to contain that people can't have many at the same time, or they completely fall apart. For example, here is an excerpt from Song of Solomon, chapter 8. "I charge you, O daughters of Jerusalem, that you not stir up nor awaken love until it pleases." In other words, don't go around trying to force love to make it happen. Instead, wait until you are truly in love before you become sexually active. This is also from chapter 8. "Set me as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm. For love is strong as death. Jealousy is cruel as the grave. Its flames are coals of fire, which has a most vehement flame. Many waters cannot quench love, neither can the floods drown it. If a man would give all the wealth of his house for love, it would utterly be scorned." This communicates the intensity of love, but it also warns of the damage that can be caused through unfaithfulness or multiples of these kinds of relationships. They show how intense sexual relationships require emotional bonds of commitment from both members in order for them to have full health. A facet of this story that should not be overlooked is that both the Shulamite maiden and her shepherd boy have a strong emotional commitment of love to one another before they form their sexual relationship in marriage. This is one of the main reasons the Shulamite maiden leaves King Solomon. She knows that if she marries King Solomon, she'll be one of many women that he sleeps with and is in love with, and she will only have a portion of his heart. But if she marries her shepherd boy, she will have his whole heart, and she will be the only one that the shepherd boy sleeps with and is in love with. Society's self-help mentality is encouraging people to remove the emotions out of sexual intimacy. They encourage people to seek sexual pleasure, but keep their emotions numb to what their body is telling them to feel. Contemporary American culture has encouraged this generation to be independent people who can walk away from a sexual relationship without any emotional damage or anything dragging them down. The idea of freedom is true. However, the great weight and depth emphasizing the emotional damage is lost in the emphasis of independence. This denial of emotional damage has a great potential to lead to unhealthy psychological and emotional conditions, such as depression. This is not a concept that is often shared in today's world. The idea that the rampant depression we see in this generation may be partially caused by individuals' lack of emotional commitment in what God created to be a covenant relationship. Sex is a sacred union that God intended only to be used in the marriage relationship. All of these women were willing to take a stand as a contemporary Shulamite maiden. and they were also my friends. Each and every one of these women has a friendship with me, and we encourage each other daily to stay pure in our emotional and sexual relationships. Each one of us has taken a stance for sexual purity until marriage. Sometimes you need a community. You need friends to keep you accountable. Staying physically pure and also respecting the intensity of love are two things that are hard to do in life, but together we can do it. This installation was not only a collaboration artistically, but it was also a collaboration emotionally and spiritually. Here I take a stand with 20 other women against current societal norms. We call forth this generation and invite you to join us.